YouTube. Um, I want to talk today about end times because there's a lot of speculation that we are actually in the end times in the last week of Daniel right now. Um, Most people on YouTube tend to have they tend to have a lane and they stay in it. And if I have a lane at all, it's a question of what is faith. That's my biggest beef. But I've looked at Revelation for the last 40 plus years. I began by reading all of Lindsay's books. Hal Lindsey, he wrote four, I believe, that dealt specifically with end of days. And I love them. Uh, they're very compelling books. And I had started off by reading Revelation, as many people do, and found it like, whoa, this is mind blowing. I didn't know where to begin with it. And so um, I was talking with my mom, and she bought me all these books one year for Christmas. I was 17, and I just ate them all up. And I thought, yes, now I get it. I understand the whole thing, and I'm ready to dive back into the Bible, into the Scripture with this new understanding. But the crazy thing that happened was, as soon as I got back into Revelation, none of it fit. Didn't work. There were holes all over the place, and I'm like, what's going on? I just decided that I just couldn't understand it. I didn't understand why I could understand it when I read Lindsay's books. It was so clear. And then when I got into scripture, it was just still again beyond me. But I accepted that the book of Revelation was just too complicated. But I never really put it down. I never really just sort of walked away from it. I kept looking for answers. And over my lifetime, I found that there are certain things that are confusing for certain reasons. For example, the whore that rides the beast, the seven hills, right? If you take that as Rome, that creates certain problems that you can't overcome. It's another one. Oh, Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. So many people that don't understand Revelation, they tie those two together, and they say that Daniel was just regurgitating the first vision. He was in a new way. He was looking at the same thing, but from a different perspective. That neither of those things will help you understand Revelation if those are the views you hold. Um, in the first reading, where the rock comes and strikes the statue, it immediately begins to grow into a mountain. From that moment, it immediately begins to grow. Yeshua, when he came the first time, he called himself that rock, the cornerstone. And he said that the kingdom of heaven is here, it's arrived. Um, so if you look at Daniel 2 and you recognize that, yes, it ends with Yeshua's first coming, then what about Daniel 7? Well, it's a vision of Yeshua's second coming. Now all of a sudden it makes much more sense. So in the end of days, we should expect three superpowers in the world and a fourth to rise. Three currently at the time the fourth rises. So all four are there at the same time. Do we see that? I think for sure we do see that. The USSR was certainly a superpower. It broke apart. It's now basically Russia. But much of the USSR is still very close. They're trading partners. They're in the same way as the United States is friendly towards Canada or Australia or England. Um, Countries like Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan are still very friendly towards Russia. I wouldn't say that the Ukraine is currently friendly towards Russia, but um, most of the countries still are, and they're very tied to one another economically. And then we have China, which would be another superpower, and they're friendly with North Korea, not India. Okay, so India has nuclear weapons, and likely Israel has nuclear weapons. So not every nuclear power is a superpower, but there are three um, governments, three countries, um, three unions on the planet right now that we would consider superpowers: the United States and the Western powers, Russia and the Soviet powers, and China and the Eastern powers. Where's the fourth one? The fourth one, which is to come, has to be the Middle East. And it's not there yet, but it's supposed to come, it's supposed to rise to power under the authority of the Antichrist, the man of perdition. So it's not there yet, but it could very well be there in short order. Um, what would it take? Well, first of all, it would take Israel as a nation. Before Israel became a nation again in 1948, there is no way that Israel could have played a role in end times. So there's no way that those end times could have been predicted or could have been happening. So first thing is split um, Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. Do not connect them. Second thing is, who are we talking about when we're talking about the horror that's riding the beast? Well, the beast is the fourth kingdom. So who's the fourth kingdom? Or if you figure out who the beast is, you figure out who the fourth kingdom is. Mystery Babylon is Jerusalem. There's 40 odd descriptors in Scripture that make it clear that they're talking about Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem, including the fact that the two witnesses are killed there in that city, and the people who live there won't allow them to be born. They hate or buried. Sorry, they hate them, and they're killed by the Antichrist, who builds his palisade between the sea and the temple. So he's living there. That's his capital city. That's his capital of the world when it becomes the capital of the world. So don't mix up those two things. And if you see those two things, then the next question is, who are the 10 kings and who are the 7 kings? Well, I've gone over the 7 kings myself, and I don't think anybody else supports me in this theory. This is entirely my own view. But I think that the 6 kings that have been, the 5 that have been, and the one that is at the time that John wrote Revelation, are the line of Herod. Starting with Herod the Great. There are 6 Herods in that line that rule or would be considered rulers within Jerusalem. Now, they're not all ruling over Jerusalem directly. During that time, Rome has rule, like through Pilate in Jerusalem, in the city of Jerusalem, but all of them are considered noble. If any of them were to enter the city, they would be treated like royalty. And the last one is there. Some of them are actually called kings. Herod kills the innocents. They crucified Christ. They build up the city and make it a worldly city, and a city that's well regarded in the world. So my view of the the five that were, the one that is, and the one that's yet to come, is that these are Herod. They're in Herod's family line. Also, Herod's an Edomite. Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Herod's not really a Jew, he's an Edomite. And his family is well connected with Herod the Great's father has close ties with the Seleucid Empire and with the family of Antiochus. So, although I can't prove an actual blood connection between them or um, blood ties um, to David, to his ancestry, it's very possible that they're there. Anyway, that's just some points that I would make concerning end of days.